All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I want to welcome you all to the regularly scheduled City Council meeting for the governing body of Spring Hill, Kansas on Thursday, April 11th. If you guys would like to stand with me, Pastor Jay Sloan of Believe Church is going to do the invocation for us this evening.
Good evening, everyone. God, you are so good. You are our creator, you are our comforter and our provider. I pray, God, that you give the council and everyone here wisdom and discernment. Lord, I pray you be with each and every topic that is discussed, that we will seek to follow the rule of your word and also the rule of law. Help us to be compassionate toward one another. Lord, help us to be patient, for we are only human and we are limited and finite. And Lord, as citizens and as politicians, I pray that we will work together in unity for the same cause and goal of the embetterment and improvement of our city. Lord, I pray for any requests that are here today that you will fulfill them and that your will be done according to your plan. Lord, I pray for everyone involved. We pray for the citizens of our community, first responders and the police and all our school system, God, that you protect us, keep us from evil. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Mrs. Feback? Present. Mr. Peel?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mr. Van Houten?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. We did have a couple requested changes. I requested to add item number 10A, appointment to the Planning Commission of the Johnson County Representative. And then also the staff requested to remove item number 11. They're not quite ready for that one yet. Other than that, are there any other requested changes or comments or questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to citizen participation, and we didn't have anyone sign up for this, but if there's anyone out in the audience that would like to, now would be your time. If not, we'll go ahead and move on and close citizen participation at this time. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These are items that the
Mayor,
staff, yes, ma'am.
excuse me, I'm sorry. I believe we skipped the proclamation.
We did, and I don't have that up here with me to read.
Oh,
So I was going to come back to it
okay.
if we got it.
I called you out on
No, you're good. You're good.
that. All right back.
Yeah, I asked him too. I was like, what?
With all due respect.
Skipped one?
No, thank you very much. All right, we'll backtrack a second and we'll do a proclamation. Today, this proclamation is for Arbor Day. In 1972, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and the trees can reduce the erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and trees are renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. I, Joe Berkey, Mayor of Spring Hill, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 2024 to be Arbor Day in the city of Spring Hill, Kansas. In witness thereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Spring Hill, Kansas, to be affixed on this 11th day of April 2024. There we go. Yes, thank you. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda, and once again, these are items that the staff considers to be routine maintenance. But if there are any questions or comments or concerns, now would be your time.
No.
If not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to formal council action and consider approval of selection of consulting firm to perform a facility needs master planning study for a municipal complex and justice / justice center. And Chief Henson, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. Last year, during the budget season, we talked about police department, the CIP, and the governing body came to a consensus to allow us to seek a consulting firm to assist with a facility needs site assessment, kind of a study to figure out what we don't know. In June of '23, we did an RFP. We sent it to 11 firms. 5 had submitted their proposals, and we narrowed that down to 2 in July of last year. And due to a variety of reasons, we postponed moving forward to it last year and brought it back to the table in 2024. So that's where we're at today. We met in March and contacted the 2 firms that we had narrowed down to the top 2, made sure they were still interested and nothing had changed in their proposal. They were both interested and nothing had changed. After re-meeting with them again, the committee recommended Finkel and Williams to complete the master planning study. So basically, the staff is recommending that the governing body authorize the mayor and staff to enter into a professional service agreement with Finkel and Williams for the completion of a master planning study for a municipal complex justice center. Any questions?
So what's different about this compared to what we did in 2020?
In 2020, the staffing study was only for the Justice Center, so it was just police and courts.
Okay. And so this is gonna have everything included, the civic center, police and court?
Yes, this one is including City Hall, Police Department, and the courts. And it is basically, they're going to provide a site assessment of potential locations. What is that gonna cost? What is actually our needs for all 3 facilities for now and into the future? Ideally, you try to look for something that'll take you to 40 to 50 years. And so they'll do that. They'll do a site relations study to see how the flow of things are. That's the extent of what we'll be getting this first round.
And how long will this be good for, do you think, as far as information goes? Would it be, if we wait 2 years to even talk about things again, do we have to redo it? Or is this?
They're going to look for a 5-year projection. So when they do their cost analysis and budget, it'll go what it will look like in 5 years from now, in 4, 3, 2, 1, so that we have an idea of the cost for the next 5 years.
Could we ask them to do it further out too, like 5 or 10 year, rather than just 5? Because my concern would be if it got pushed off another 5, and then we're kind of
Start all over.
paying for the same report again.
Chief, if you don't mind, I'd answer that for you. The gist of the study is to look at our needs. And unless we operationally change a lot at a fire department, something like that, the data should be good. Projecting the cost out 5 years or more is really kind of a swag at that point. But I think the study would be good for a number of years unless operationally we change something very dramatically.
Okay.
We wouldn't need the complete restudy. We might have to re-estimate cost to build if we choose to delay.
And that part's not a big deal as much as the actual report gonna be good for a longer term?
I would think so, as long as we don't change our operation.
Yeah,
I think it'd be hard to project the cost after 5 years because we have no idea what the economy is going to do.
Which is not a big deal, because at that point, yeah, we need to update it anyway. It's gonna change so much, but
And even if we had to, in theory, redo it, like, it would probably be small tweaks as opposed to like brand new starting from scratch.
yeah, that's kind of, so they're not taking anything from the 2021 or what was done in 2020?
I will share with them what was done out of 2020. There was a previous study back in 2006 that was more of a municipal complex, so I will share that with them as well.
Okay, so we've already kind of, years ago, this was kind of looked at already too.
Yeah, in 2006.
Yeah.
And that was for a 20-year projection, so they would have planned to about 2026, just a couple of years away.
Okay.
And then Thinkle and Williams, they have your support then?
Yes.
I think they're the best for municipal complexes and Justice Center. This is their bag. That's what they do.
Yes, they're a 25-year company. They're 100% employee-owned. They partner with another firm called Shepherd and Roth, that is, or Roth and Shepherd. I might have got it confused. That specializes in public safety buildings. So they reach out to the experts to make sure that, unfortunately, police buildings are special because we're special, right? And so there are certain security components of a police department that would not otherwise be in a civic center or city hall or any other type of building. And so those experts would be brought in for that to ensure that we're meeting those standards.
Great. Just for thorough clarity, this, I know we call it a justice center, but it's not just a justice center. So this is for, the three main components are city hall, PD, and court. Like those three prongs, I guess.
Right.
Are the three components of what this is looking at. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, would that include jail?
No,
No.
it would include a holding
Johnson
facility.
Good.
Right.
Because our jail is through the Johnson County Sheriff's Department or the Miami County
won't
Sheriff's
change.
Department. That will not change. We currently do not have a holding facility. For those of you who have visited our building, we literally have a bench. And that is not a secure area. So when we have somebody who is less cooperative, you know, it is not safe for the officers nor for the person that we're dealing with. So we would ask for at least a holding cell so that they can be processed safely.
Yeah. But not a long-term thing.
Oh, no, just temporary.
And I would definitely say, especially for the public out there, because I probably, 5 years ago, I probably couldn't have been convinced that we needed a new police department, or not department, but a new facility for the police department. But then when I went and toured the building and saw, especially the holding area, where you literally have to walk through the kitchen and break area just to get to the holding room, and then there's no doors on either side of it, and then you have to walk through the holding room to get to the where you store all the stuff from all the different crimes, the property, the storage for all that, like the crime lab area and stuff. You have literally have
Evidence
to walk
room.
through there, and then and then you have to walk again through there through open doors to where all you guys are staffed at. So there's literally it's one of the most unsecure places in the building, but that's literally all you guys have to use. And then the locker rooms are full, completely full. Everywhere else in that building is jam-packed tiny. So yes, it is a nice facility. It's been redone well, and it is a nice facility. But for the size of department we have, it is just not adequate and not large enough. So I would encourage anybody in the public, I'm sure Chief or someone else would love to give anyone a tour that has questions and see it for yourself, because I was skeptical before I saw it for myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I welcome anybody who would like to come and take a look at it.
I just want to second what you said, Mayor, and what you're saying, because I've been through it and walked through it, so it definitely is a concern for safety.
Any other questions?
And I want to reiterate, this doesn't tie us down to putting in a facility. This is just research to find out what our needs are and put together a cost analysis so we know how much it would cost if we were to do it, whether it's a year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. So we're not tying our hands to millions of dollars right now. Any other questions or comments?
My only other comment would be, I mean, yeah, I'm in favor of looking into what we need to do, but we need to really find some alternative ways to pay for it outside of
Absolutely.
just regular. So we really got to figure that out too. I mean, that's something really be working on, because I would not be for raising taxes for something like this, but
No, and I would not
You know,
be
we
for
need to
raising the mill
figure-
levy for
yeah.
that either.
yeah. So, but I know you're working on creative ways to figure it out. So just wanted to say that.
I would kind of follow up on that, and I understand the apprehension in doing this. I also see this as us being very proactive in trying to address a very big problem. 100% agree. The financing part of this is an even bigger challenge to figure out than figuring out what our space needs are, or or what's going to be done with this. So, but it's also not a big secret, and it's come up multiple times over probably the past 5 years, that space availability at the PD and at this facility is a problem or is going to be a problem in short order. So, so the financing will be really hard. So we'll figure out how to do that, and eventually it may not make sense, but I also agree with you, like, this is not something we're gonna raise taxes for.
Yeah, I'd second that. I see no reason to raise, no reason for the property tax to influence this at all. But from my perspective, this gives us 3, 4, 5 years to get creative with the city administrator to find alternative sources of funding. And, then we can look at it in that, frame of mind, so.
All right, if there's no further questions or comments, I entertain a motion.
We had,
It's
me do that?
it's number 8.
sure. Make a motion to approve the selection of consulting firm Thinkland Williams to perform a facility needs master plan study for a municipal complex justice center.
I second it.
Got a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to consider approval of agreement with Kansas Department of Transportation, or KDOT, for the Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A discretionary grant program. And Mrs. Dunn, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We are asking to approve an agreement and have the mayor sign it with the Kansas Department of Transportation, KDOT, for the Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A discretionary grant program. What that will do is KDOT will also sign this agreement, which will provide a grant to the city in the amount of $37,500. And the point of that grant is to create a study, a plan, if you will, for our roads and streets and sidewalks and safe streets for all, basically. When that is completed, we can then apply for federal and state money to fund some of these programs. This could be from a small grant of some kind up to millions of dollars for streets or some other transportation type program. And this is just our first step. So we would get a plan put together, basically, which is required for the next step, and the state of Kansas will pay for it through this grant. Can I answer any questions?
I like it.
Good.
What all can we use it for? Sidewalks, roads, trails, anything?
Let me probably clarify on that. The SS4A that we're applying for is mainly for the K7 corridor. And then hopefully the intent is it'll look at sidewalks and connections within that area. But that was the main intent of this one, which would open up the door for implementation grants as the next step, which could help with interchanges or connectivity from east to west. And this portion is a cost share for the local cost share. So KDOT will be picking up a substantial portion of, what is it, 37,500, and our share is 12,500. So we would have had, what's that, 50,000?
Right.
Would have been the local share, but KDOT's picking up the majority of our local cost share. So the total grant is, was it 200,000? The total project cost will be about 250. And the other 200,000 is coming from the feds.
Which will come to you eventually for approval.
So it starts at, they give us 37.5, we cover 12.5, and then we're hoping to get the 200 from the Fed.
we've been authorized for that.
Okay,
The contract just hasn't been approved yet
okay.
by the feds. It'll come probably in the next month.
Right.
And so this is approving basically just the application of it, no cost to us or anything? Just saying we'll spend the 12.5?
Yes.
And then just the first step in the process, they always make
Yeah.
you do the study before they give you money.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. You have to do it their way.
okay.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
If not, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve the agreement with Kansas Department of Transportation for project number U-2527-01 SS4A grant program and authorize the mayor to sign any other documents with KDOT for this program.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0.
Mayor, excuse me, if we can track back to item 8 on the motion for the study.
Did it need to say authorize the mayor to sign it? Yeah, I know.
If,
I missed that.
yeah, that's okay. I don't believe the
I did.
contract is ready right now, but it was, once legal is reviewed it and completed, then it can be done, administratively without having it come back to the council, if you want to consider that. But it's up to you. I'm just,
You didn't read that one?
Yeah, I didn't see, I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
Should I redo it? Yeah, sure.
All right, with that, I entertain a motion, a redo motion for item number 8.
or is that okay?
Spencer?
Yeah, I think rather than redoing the whole motion, because we already have the motion as read, I think a new motion, just authorizing the mayor to sign that contract once legal review has been completed.
Okay.
So move to approve the mayor to authorize approve,
Authorize the mayor.
authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Finkel Williams.
So authorize the mayor to approve the Finkel and Williams to complete the facilities needs study and authorize
Yeah, just, that's
the agreement when reviewed by legal is complete.
Yeah, authorize
Authorize the mayor to sign.
mayor to execute. is what we
Execute
wanna
and
use.
sign. I'm sorry.
just the last part.
Yeah, the mayor to sign the agreement when reviewed by legal and completed. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you for catching that.
All right, I've got a motion.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of appointment of city council member. And this person that I'm nominating today is someone that is a local businessman, had a business here in Spring Hill for many, many years, very successful business. And I just think would bring a great business mind to the council up here, someone that's well respected throughout the community, someone that's been involved in a lot of different events, has helped plan a bunch of different things throughout the city when it comes to whether it's a golf tournament or other different events, involved in several other things. And I just think would bring a wealth of knowledge to the council. And that person is Mr. Brian Verbreken. And I'll open up the floor to any questions or comments or anything.
I don't have any questions. I I got a chance to speak with Brian and he answered all my questions very well, and I got comfortable with him, and I had other people that we looked at, and I think he's about as good as some of the other folks. So I'm happy to have him on.
I also got a chance to speak to Brian as well, and, I think it's great that he's a business owner here in the city. I think that, is great, and he answered all my questions well as well.
I've known Mr. Verbreken for a while now. I did not contact him over this, but he is a very fine, upstanding citizen of Spring Hill, and I think he will do a great job up here. So happy to have him.
Yeah, and he has my support as well. I spoke with him. And I want to make a statement to the former appointee. It's never my intention to not treat people with dignity and respect and professionalism. And look, it's politics. So we each have a vote. In that situation, I felt like there was somebody who was head and shoulders above the appointees. I still do, but we've worked through that. You've all spoke with the current appointee. I appreciate the mayor pulling us in on that, and I feel very strongly about the vetting process. I also feel very strongly about the direction of the council as well as the planning commission. So yeah, Brian has my support.
All right, if there are no other comments or questions, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve the appointment of the city council member, Brian, I don't know how to say his last name, we don't have it written.
For break-in.
For Breakin.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Welcome to the team, Brian. And Brian is here this evening. Would you like to come and say anything? You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I'm just listening.
All right. Do you want to swear him in right now? Or do you? Okay, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. If you just want to get with Glenda afterwards and we'll get it all worked out. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is appointment to the Planning Commission, the Johnson County Representative. And this person that I'm suggesting appointment tonight, we've actually had a difference in agreement a lot of different times, a difference in opinion. So I'm kind of stepping out, and this is not saying anything about him, I'm kind of stepping out on a limb. I interviewed this person, we had really good discussion. And, I have no problem putting somebody up here on the planning commission that I disagree with. I think it's good to have varying opinions. I'm not saying I disagree with him on everything, but definitely some things we have, but I will have to say, and I think everybody probably in this room would agree that this person is very respectful. They're very well organized, very well informed. They come to just about every meeting, just about every city meeting we have. They always do a lot of different presentations, and they're always very, very informative and very, very well educated. So the person I am suggesting for the Johnson County representative is Mr. Chuck Morse. And I'll once again open the floor to any comments or questions, or go from there.
I feel like I know Chuck pretty well, and I've always really enjoyed his outlook on everything, and I always feel like even if he's against something, he's at least reasonable as far as listening to things we have to say, and I think he'll be a great addition, especially for that that north part of town, Johnson County, that's in the area, and I think he's going to be great. I'm very happy you decided to appoint him.
Yeah, so Chuck has my support as well. I think that Chuck's done a good job. Like, he's a visible guy. He's here. He cares. That's what we need in this community, right? Like, we need more people who want to serve. And the Planning Commission is a thankless. It's thankless. Let me tell you. I was here 3 hours with Pat, Amy, on Thursday night working through the comp plan, and look, there's nothing in it for these planning commissioners. There's just not. Like, they're just giving themselves and their time. So appreciate Chuck willing to do that. And actually, I appreciate all the planning commissioners for that matter. Rodolfo's back there. If I go through the list, I'll forget people and then I'll feel bad. But there's a whole list of people. Cindy's been on the board forever, on the commission forever. Sly. I'm not gonna be able to go through the list, but we appreciate everything they've done. I think Chuck will be a great addition. Final thing is, I think there's great synergy right now amongst staff, amongst the planning commission, and amongst the city council, pushing the city in a positive direction. So,
And this would be filling the spot. There's 10 months left, I believe, on it until the next election. That's about somewhere around there. So it would just be, I told him it's a little trial run, so we'll see how he does for the next 10 months or so. And
It's for till the next appointment.
yes,
You said
till the next
election.
appointment.
It's not an
Yes.
elected spot.
Right, right.
I've known Chuck for a while now too. I can probably 100% guarantee that he and I will not agree on every issue as well. But he's very knowledgeable. He's very capable of doing his research and homework. He speaks very well when he's presented here. And I too think that he will be a great addition to the Planning Commission.
So I just am recently getting to know Chuck. But I did have a conversation with him at the last council afterwards, and my first impression was good. So I'm in support of it.
All right, with that, I will make a motion to approve the appointment to planning commission of Charles, AKA Chuck Morse.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Welcome to the team. And if you just want to get with Glenda afterwards, she can get all that stuff figured out as well. All right, next we're going to move on to consideration to waive the requirements of the purchasing policy and authorize staff to.
We removed that one.
Oh, sorry, that's the one that we removed. Next, we're going to move on to a discussion item. And the first, that ends formal council action. And discussion, the first item on the agenda is the 2025 budget priorities. And Mrs. Dunn, you have the floor.
Thank you very much,
Marked it out.
Ashley. That's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Get excited. It's time for the budget again.
Our favorite.
We've barely gotten into the current year, and let's start in on the next one. That's my favorite part of the budget. Actually, I'm really excited about it. Last year, we approved the OpenGov software. I've been working with it, building the budget based on the '24 budget, and it's going to be a world of difference, and I'm excited about it. The first thing we need to do is kind of talk about the calendar and the steps that need to happen here. I gave each of you a paper copy of this. I'm happy to email it out if you like to keep things electronically instead of in paper. But tonight is sort of that kickoff night. We're going to talk about priorities. I'll save that for a minute. The next step, the state does training on their form and any changes to budget law. Since last time, I'm asking the directors to have everything done before May 31st. So we can be finalizing expense budgets, kind of a neat thing. Mona Keish has already given me information from the CBIZ work we did last year, so I already have the people budget built. And then I'm just waiting for the details. What's our insurance gonna look like? Are we going to change capers, things like that. But it's nice and tight and ready to go. So we'll have those things together by May 31st. So June 14th, when we get the information on valuation from the county clerks, I'm hoping we can put revenue together, the final pieces. And I'm optimistic to say June 27th, I'll be here, hopefully with a budget that we can start talking about the revenue neutral rate and complying with the law around that. And so if not, something doesn't go my way, we also have July 11th that we could come in and approve the resolution to exceed revenue neutral rate if we need to. And then that'll let us meet the requirement of July 19th to have it to the county clerk if we're going to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Then each of those times we will have budget discussions here, different things, different priorities each time. And then on July 25th, we will do some presentations on CIP projects from directors, as well as further the budget discussion, which will move us to August. The first thing we have to do is publish per the requirements, and then we will have the revenue neutral hearing. Our first opportunity to do that without a special meeting is August 22nd. You cannot have those meetings before August 20th, and they have to be done by September 20th, so we're gonna take advantage of that. We made this compact so that we're getting it done and not waiting to the last moment, but it has slack in it. So if something doesn't work our way, or there's a hot issue that needs to come in front of the council and we need to push back, we have the room to do that. That moves us to September, and we will have our public hearing on the budget on September 12th and approval of the budget and adopting it for September 26th. That gives us it'll be ready to go by then with the bow on top. And by October 1st, we will have it as required to the county clerk. Can I answer any questions about schedule? Or the steps we're gonna go through? You'll probably see budget discussion on the agenda just about every time, depending on what's happening in the topic. And I like to break it down to smaller pieces so you don't get the whole thing at one time. You've seen it along the way.
Yeah, it feels like we're starting a little earlier than usual, which is probably good.
About a month early.
Yeah. So, no, I'll be excited to see kind of where things land and how we're gonna.
Me too,
Yeah, I'd rather have a little bit more time to where we can
right?
beat that thing down and try to get it as low as we can get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm sure we're gonna hassle you enough. You're.
yeah.
I have every hope that that's how this will go.
Yeah.
So then, let's talk about the priorities of the budget, which this is big picture. This is words and not numbers. A really important thing, and I'm not here to steal the thunder of the community development group, but we have a first draft of a comprehensive plan I think you've all seen. I'm not here to worry about every single detail, but I'm combing through it to say, what things in here impact the budget? Where will we need to put a few dollars for something or big dollars for something else? And so those areas are, the 6 areas of the community, of the plan are community identity, community health and safety. That includes healthcare, mental health, police department, fire departments, all those things. The built environment, the things around us, harmony with nature. Let's get everybody outside and move around. A resilient economy, and then community design, which is more about land use. So from this, we'll identify focus areas and we'll incorporate them in the budget and CIP for 25 to 29. We will be building a 5-year budget. The first year is really good. The second year is pretty good. The rest of the years are plus inflation, basically. So then overall, let's think about the priorities we want to have. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask for your priorities. I always like to put that at the top because you set the tone. Mill levy, it is my plan, because I know exactly what you're going to say, is you don't want to raise the mill levy. Can I shave some of it off? I'm hoping, I expect that, and I think that's a good plan, and so that is my approach. I'm not approaching it with a plan to raise taxes. Sidewalks are important, connectivity between communities, neighborhoods, and our parks. Safe streets, obviously, safe and streets, the key words there. We're gonna build on the prior CIP, the one we did last year. What needs to be added, what needs to be removed, and what needs an update when we know more about the project and more details. We need to balance long-term and short-term. We need a long-term plan on our streets, on our sidewalks, on our people, all of those things. So then what are department priorities? I've already approached the department heads to say, what are your priorities? And these are some of the key things that came from that. We want to maintain and recruit quality employees. We want to build on all the recent investment on the streets and the parks and the projects that we've been doing the last 2 years and before. Equipment requests are way down. When I first came here, there was a long list of equipment needs, and we've done a lot of work in the last 2 years, and the equipment needs are much smaller, very short list. Like I already said, 5-year budgeting and planning. We really want to focus on public works areas and public safety. We don't need to spend a lot of time on the finance department. We aren't building streets and keeping people safe. We need to get more focused on utility infrastructure and maintenance, making sure we're taking care of what we have in addition to what we need. We want to get revenue and cost rights. So think about, I'll pick Aquatic Center. Do we have our revenue right? Do we have our expenses and our costs right? We want to make sure we're planning for the best balance for the two. And then we will be utilizing the investment in OpenGov for budgeting and reporting. So that brings it back to you. One, I'll answer any questions. Otherwise, based on the things we've culled so far, are there priorities you want to push to the top? Are there things I don't have on my list you feel should be there? I'd love to hear about your priorities for 2025 and beyond. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Can you go back to the priority list you had up?
Of course. This is the first one. That was
the next
comp
one.
plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
this one is the one I would look at. I mean, for me, yeah, mill levy and sidewalks are, really if we can build any sort of connectivity for, my son goes to Spring Hill Middle, so I've been watching a lot, and 215th is just, those poor kids from the elementary school are going over, and we've got to, to me, that's where like all that savings we had has to go to that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just, it's really bad, and my kids don't have to deal with it, but the kids over there do. So to me, that's a very, very high priority, even over some of the streets. I mean, I can dodge potholes so that kids don't get run over by people, but that's kind of at least my top one for sure.
I want to clarify something. I think you're referring to the savings that we had as the conversation last time over the 24th Street plan.
Yeah,
I don't think we can use it for.
Yeah, we can't use that on sidewalks because it was a bond project. Part of that money comes from the bond we did in '23. And that is specific as to streets and projects that will be worked on, and sidewalks were not a part.
so sidewalks aren't a part of streets?
No, it's specific. Now I can go back and say, hey, can we,
Are gutters
Change
part of
our-
streets? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, cause, yeah. curb
So
and
we
gutter
can
should-
put that towards the gutter then and use different money for the sidewalk.
Specific streets.
right. 215th may not be a street.
Okay.
And then the second part of that is the remainder of the budget for the 24th Street maintenance is from the highway tax, which has to be spent on streets, not on sidewalks.
Okay.
Gutters and curbs and the things that go with it, but not on sidewalks. We'll have to find that money somewhere else.
Well, and that's where, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We just use that towards the gutter and curb then, and we use different money for the sidewalk. I mean,
We'll see what we can,
figuring out, that's kind of my priority.
Yeah,
Either
I-
way, however we have to figure it out,
right.
I think that's where we need to put it towards, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I would echo that. I think to me, there's a couple street areas. We did a great job getting what we got done this last year, but I think south, Woodland Street, south of 207th Street is in really rough shape. And I know we already have that slated to be done this year. So that's on the plan. And then also, Victory, kind of north of 223rd. I know a few years ago we did some chip and seal on it, but it's some of that's already failing, and there's potholes and stuff going on that. So I think those two areas, and then once again, I think sidewalks are our top priority. I think the area he's talking about over on 215th Street or South Street, I actually drive that every day to take my daughter to the middle school. And yeah, just kids, I mean, there's literally nowhere. In fact, most kids I know, I think sometimes will walk down to one of the next streets, walk further north to get a street that has a sidewalk so they don't have to walk there. And that's just extra walking that wouldn't be necessary if we had a sidewalk there. So, but it's definitely very unsafe along that street. So I would be very much for doing something there and other areas to get connectivity throughout the community.
I was just gonna say, I like these list of priorities, especially looking at the mill levy. I am concerned because there have been people that want to move to this community and can't afford to. And so, or people that are currently living here that.
Can't afford to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stay.
that can't afford to. So that's really a top priority of mine. Again, I agree with the connectivity. I love seeing the CIP on here ever since I started in this position. I feel that that's definitely like a big plan, of course, of a strategic plan, and you can come back to that and make decisions off that. So big proponent of getting that done and utilizing that as a resource and making decisions. And then, of course, long-term and short-term, focusing on what we're going to do throughout the year with that. So
Great.
these are good. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and you guys know where I stand on sidewalks and connectivity. We had community meetings last year. Yeah, I'm a big advocate for that. Anybody who's not, 3 o'clock, go stand at 215th South Street and Webster and just observe what you see there. It can be improved, but it's gonna be expensive, and there's no easy solutions. Mr. Massey and I have discussed that ad nauseum at different times. And so, yeah, there are some priorities here that are gonna be difficult to achieve, but yeah, these are, I see these as accurate and triaged appropriately.
Well, and I think on 215th Street, I mean, if we could just start somewhere, I mean, even if we can
right.
only do,
That's
even if we
exactly
can
right.
only do one block.
Do one block at a time.
Even if we can only fund one block, let's do one block.
That's right.
I mean, part of the reason I think why it hasn't been done, not only funding, but also you have big ditches on there. So there'll have to be some major drainage work done and a lot more than just putting a sidewalk on a flat piece of yard like typically is. So I think that's part of the reason why something hasn't been done for the last 150 years.
Yeah, and I'll just
50,
go on.
What I'd suggest is, I just quickly sent an email to the city engineer. What we'll do is over the next couple of weeks, get together, and have him put together a quick rough estimate of a per block cost. And, come back to the governing body sometime in the next, say, 30 to 60 days.
That'd be great, because if we can come up, let's say it's, $500,000 per block. I mean, hopefully it's not that, but if it is, that's somewhere where we can start and say, okay, let's
Yeah.
do one block this year.
You put the stormwater.
Next
drain.
year, we'll do another block.
Yeah. No, I mean, and really, yeah, before budget time would be great to have, the next 30 days would be good, just so we can start to plan, but.
Yeah, one final comment on that. At some point, this may be unpopular, but at some point, I think there needs to be some sort of meeting or understanding with the school district on certain sidewalks and, that affect them as well. So that's down the road, but I think there's, multiple people or multiple organizations that, can play a role in this.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think they could partner with us, for sure.
So my biggest priority for budget this year is fitting 199th project in without a mill levy increase.
I'm a magician. But yes, I absolutely respect
I was gonna say, I heard that was doable. I was told that.
I would love for us
Who's been
to-
telling you stuff like that?
I would love.
We really are gonna, that's definitely a
But I
priority
mean,
for us.
if we're talking about priorities, that is my top priority for this year, is if we can get a budget that fits that project in and does not increase the mill levy. Now, obviously, saying that, mill levy is a top priority also. I don't think any of us has any appetite for increasing the mill levy. I think we all want it to go down. I would love to see the levy go down incrementally or in small bits. I think that's what's realistic for us to be able to do. But I'm also not opposed to keeping the mill levy the same if we can fit 199th in. Sidewalks, totally agree with all of you. 215th Street is our biggest need for sidewalks. We should focus on that area, and if we can get a block, or whatever it is. If it's 10 feet, get 10 feet.
I was saying the school district owns those two corners right there, right? Don't they? So, I mean,
The east side.
On the east side
Yeah.
of Webster,
where there's a,
where they've got sidewalk already.
they don't
west-
on the, they don't on the going east, do they?
On the north side,
north
going
side they
east,
do,
there's a
yeah.
sidewalk, yes,
But not on the south side.
correct.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean,
But there's
Like you said,
none
getting in-
on
on the west side. there's
215th
nothing.
west of Webster.
Yeah,
If nothing else, to initiate the conversation.
yeah. Well, we have the same thing over on 199th where
Yep.
there's that big section.
Exactly.
Does that project include sidewalks that we're looking at?
Yes, it will. If it doesn't, it will.
Which we're referencing,
I'll say on the north side, then we should look for funding from the school district.
Yeah, I think from here on out, we're gonna require subdivisions are gonna require to have.
What do you got,
sidewalks.
Pat?
Oh, yeah.
Thank God for Amy.
It was an agreement they were supposed to.
Yes, there's an agreement with the school district already in place that when 199th is developed, then, it was going to be all on the school district property but with additional development possible on the south side. We'll just combine, thank you. We'll just combine that all together. But there's an agreement when they built, when they put the addition on the high school, and then there was also when they built the administration. So they're very much aware.
Is
I
that,
was to say, cause they go,
is that a written agreement?
Well, we can always call people in that were in the negotiations. They still live within the area, so. But you're exactly correct. It was not a true written agreement. But I'm,
Yeah, I'm not doubting there's an agreement
No,
at all. I just,
yeah.
Yep.
But, and to be real honest with you, in looking through that and all, and then Prairie Ridge, Don Margaretier's been wanting it forever,
yeah.
you know. And it was probably, really, truthfully, a very good move not to put it in with the reconstruction of 199.
Yeah,
Because if I remember off the top of my head, guys, it was like 300 grand
for the sidewalk.
for the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's what I
It's-
thought.
It's no
So-
little number.
No,
Well, that's why we were looking at kind of like a trail
And if
rather than
you-
a sidewalk for a while.
right. And if you're familiar with it, there's quite a drainage ditch there coming off of so it probably made good sense until we actually had a true plan in place for 199th.
Okay.
And I want to remind everybody that that 199th project is a CARS project, and that's why it's a little bit more of a priority than, because in all reality, that area of street is not in rough shape like most of our other areas that need attention, but that is a CARS project that we already pushed off for at least 1 year now. And so-
Meaning money would be coming from.
Right, money
outside
would be coming
sources,
from the
not city.
from the county to pay for a large portion of it. And we don't want to lose that funding if we decide not to do it.
Mr. Peel, did you have other?
No, you guys hit on most of the highlights, whatever work we can continue to do on streets, we need to still be aggressive with that. And also still find the balance with all the different things we're talking about up here because we're not gonna be able to afford all of them, so.
Right, set priorities.
Yep.
Great. I appreciate that input. I put it to use. When we come back, you should be able to see that in the budget, that we did the things we said were priorities and where we put money and supported those things. I do use the budget to apply to the comprehensive plan and vice versa, so that we are building a financial base in support of the initiatives that are a part of the comprehensive plan. So I look forward to it getting completed and these things supporting the efforts that are in it. My door is always open. I think I've met with every one of you at some point about budget or other issues. But through this whole process, I love to hear your input and your ideas. Last year, one of them had halfway recalculated the budget on me. And that's great. I love to hear someone else's viewpoint on it. So I'll take that. So if I can answer any other questions on budget, we're ready to go.
The only thing else I would say is, we just need to, when we look at that comp plan and budgeting for it, that's made without really a cost in mind. And so I don't want to be like the school district and say, oh, everybody said they want small schools at whatever cost it's going to be. We have to kind of think about that a little bit too, as far as, yeah, this is what people want, but how can we get at least halfway there, a quarter there, or whatever.
It's a 10 or 20-year plan,
yeah.
so we're not gonna get it done in 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of time yet, and it's big ideas, not a list of action items. And so some of them are kind of easy, but we should be looking at the CIP to say, do these things support those priorities? If not, why are we doing them? Or what do we need to add to be even more in support, as opposed to say, let's create a new department, and no, we're
Yeah.
not things like that.
All righty.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next item is another discussion item, and it's donation of land to the Spring Hill Recreation Commission. Mr. Lowe, you have the floor, and Brian, you want to take a step out?
Yep, I'll be sitting out the next two items.
We'll come get you.
Fairly short and sweet. This is kind of a formality thing. We've discussed donation of land to the Recreation Commission. I think you all were in favor of that. Before the city disposes of any land that could possibly be defined as a park or parkland, which some of these parcels might fit under that definition. There's a state statute that requires us to publish notice of that and allow people to file a protest petition and force a special election if they don't want us to get rid of a park. So this is what we're doing. We want to dot all of our I's and cross our T's and be open with folks. So we will publish notice of the 4 parcels that would be donated and allow people those 30 days. But we just wanted to get in front of you all and authorize that publication by our clerk and kind of inform you of that process. I know this has come up, and I didn't want to just take 30 days of just sort of sitting in limbo before you guys had a chance to hear all that. So any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, remind me, so can the Recreation Commission own land? They can.
They can
Yes,
own it, they just can't purchase
Can't
it.
purchase.
They can't
They
purchase
can't purchase
it.
it,
So
so we
if
have
they
to-
donate
yeah.
it, they cannot purchase.
Correct.
I guess my question was, do we have can we build anything into the gift or donation that says, hey, we still want to have some say in what you do with that land, or is it when it's gone, it's gone?
So once it's gone, we're gonna be giving it over in fee simple, so they'll have complete control over that. If you'd like us to raise that topic, if there's specific things that the city wants to have some say over, like if you got a thought, you don't have to say here, we can talk later, but we can propose that to them, but since it's a donation, it's kinda hard to say, we're gonna donate it, but you also have.
Well, I would say, yeah,
Also-
donation with maybe the council being like the trustee of any major changes of more than a certain, just to make sure it's moving in the direction we kind of want it to move in, whether it be the old pool or, whatever, because we're talking about the baseball fields, right? So I know they've been maintaining it for a long time and all that, so.
Yeah, because I think we all yes, what we'd like to see the old pool.
Exactly, yeah, so when you give it up completely and, something happens, you're like, well, that's not what we wanted to happen over there. So that was kind of my thought.
Yeah.
The other thing was,
Part of the risk.
if we're gonna donate land, I would like to kind of tie it into maybe all of the parks and say, hey, we're gonna donate this to you, but we'll give the rest of you the parks for a $1 lease, and you guys have to maintain all of the parks that we have. Just a way to kind of offset some of the cost to the city. For one, we're losing an asset. Two, that's a big part of our budget. So things like that is kind of, I wasn't here when the first presentation happened. But those are kind of things that I was thinking about, that how can we make this beneficial for both of us, where they're going to get land that they've basically been taken care of, but how eventually kind of move things that way so that we can get some of the cost off of the city and get some of those folks more working on the streets and stuff rather than parks.
Sure, we can look at that. I mean, it's tricky we don't wanna give away all of our.
Well, I'm not saying giving them away, but yeah,
Ownership of parks and ability to do it. So leasing, and that's tough because parkland is pretty specific under our code and state codes, but
Yeah.
we can look at it and see what sort of agreements we can get to, whether it's a lease or just kind of an agreement that they're gonna come help with some maintenance.
Yeah, so
We'll,
something like
we'll
that.
broach it. They have no obligation to agree, but we can bring
Yeah,
it up.
no, exactly. I mean,
I would be in agreement just to look into that as well. I think it
Absolutely.
makes sense, just for duplicity, right? We all, we've got X amount of mowers, they've got X amount of mowers. We're, if we can combine those two, maybe it'll save us, or give us another, person on our public works, so.
well, they also have a much larger tax base than us, and people in their whole tax base use some of those facilities, so it would be nice to spread that cost around of the maintenance of those facilities. So that's kind of my thought behind it.
Yeah, we can bring that up as part of the donation.
And I'm for this, but I'm a little torn on it too, because I never like to, give up assets. So it was a little tough one for me, but I think the benefits probably outweigh the negatives on it. So I'm for it, but I had to do a little bit of convincing of myself that that this is the right move. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and out of curiosity, how do other municipalities deal with this? Gardner, does the city own their parks and the rec? The city owns the parks and then the rec it's separate. Are there other communities where this is done?
I mean, Ottawa is a recreation commission, so is Blue Valley Recreation Commission.
Okay.
So they're different, but like Ottawa doesn't run in general, recreation commissions don't run parks, but a lot of places do. The city owns.
I always think of Parks and Rec, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, I think Parks and Rec.
Parks part of it, but so, like Ottawa leases from their ballpark from the city, but similar to what we do, but they maintain it all. I know they've tried to do something similar as what we're trying to do here, cause they're in as good of a spot as us to help improve their ballpark.
Understood.
But, like Blue Valley had their land donated to them way back, I don't know the exact
Sure.
dates, but that's,
So this isn't out of the norm,
this isn't out of the norm,
if it's not the norm.
no, and though from our board side of it is they wanna, it's like we've already put I'm sorry, I'm taking your time.
Oh, no.
You want
Come
to
up
step up
here.
here?
You know more about
Yeah,
what you guys
yeah.
are doing than me, so.
That way the
I didn't know
Come on
if
up,
it
come
was
on.
or not.
Talk.
that way the public can hear you.
Yeah.
'Cause they can't hear you when
I'm
you're out in
Jake.
the audience.
I'm the sports coordinator for the rec. So,
Hey Jake, I know you know, but do you want to give her we're supposed to have everybody give the address.
okay, I live in Osawatomie, so
Okay.
I don't know if that matters, but,
Good.
but I'm representing the Recreation Commission, so, more. So, like, Chip was talking about, it's not unheard of for cities or school districts to donate property to a recreation commission. Derby's, they had an old city building, something like the Civic Center, that donated the building to them for them to run, because it's basically a facility that they weren't using, and Derby was using 100%, Recreation Commission was using 100%. So something very similar to this situation. I know Chad said something about the pool, and that would be, I was like, I don't know if agreement needs to be something. I know you're a donation, but that was one of our priorities, to get rid of the pool because we want to use it. It's an eyesore for all of us. As you can tell, it's like if we can get rid of that, we can put something that we can program and recreate out of there. But right now, it's just waste of space. But our board wants to start improving that property more. We've already put like $750,000 over there since our current lease agreement, which is like 2017, I think it was when it started. But they're wanting to put like upwards of like $2 to $3 million more with lights and more asphalt project redoing, taking out the old pool and finding stuff like that. But they're hesitant to invest that much because that would probably be the largest investment Spring Hill Recreation's made in our time by far. And they're hesitant to do that without being our property, because if a council wanted to,
Sure.
5 years from now, we put $3 million into new lights, the city council will be like, that's where we want the building you were talking about earlier to go. And that's where our board is hesitant to put that. That's why this came up.
No, it definitely makes sense that you guys would want to, especially with the improvements you want to make. I just want to have, whether it be the agreement in the donation saying, hey, we agree on what you're going to convert that to, or whatever it is, that kind of stuff. And then obviously, if we can build in something with the park, for me, that's just a big thing that, I just don't, everywhere I've lived before I moved out here, was the recreation or the park and rec always took care of all the parks.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So
because usually they're bigger than what the city.
Yeah. So usually it's wrapped into the city's budget where we're separate. So like something like us taking over all the parks, we would in turn probably have to raise our mill levy to take care of those costs, because we only have 2 maintenance guys right now that spend 30 hours a week mowing in the summer. So, that's one thing I would say that's probably would be a little bit
But your
the cost would
worth way more
your
than
taxpayers
ours.
a little bit
That's
different, but yes.
Your mill levy
But we
is
would-
more than ours, so.
But we would have to increase our mill levy.
Yeah,
imagine,
no, I know.
which probably would not look great for taxpayers.
Yeah.
But that, is there any other questions you guys have? Like, obviously I presented my PowerPoint. We've already taken some, suggestions for what we would do with the old pool from the Parks Advisory Board, and we would take suggestions from city council staff here and like our own staff to decide, like what we want the public to help us decide what we want to put there. There's a lot of different ideas, so it's not something, there's nothing we have set in stone. We just know that our first priority after if the rent land were to become ours would be getting the pool out would be one of the big projects. Lights and doing the pool would be our first 2 main projects, which right now we budget about, it's gonna be like $1.5 million for guesstimate. Like we already know the lights are gonna cost $1 million, but we're guessing just
Yeah, the pool is pretty big, I think.
removing the pool, we're guessing right now is like gonna be like $500,000 before we put anything
back over there?
back over it, so.
I think, I like the fact that if you could keep us, if the donation goes through and stuff, just keep us abreast of the feedback that you're getting and then what exactly is gonna go on it. I would be curious to know that.
Yeah, I think that keeping communication with you guys and city staff is key. Like you guys have input, it's been your property, but it's also, I said we don't like it either, so we want it gone, so.
Yeah, and if there's some way we can have more representation
Yeah.
on their board as
and
well, I mean, that's
you
maybe.
have a liaison that-
Yeah, we have the
So that can
liaison
help.
now, but.
Talk to our board as well, so.
Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of the Recreation Commission. They take some heat because of taxes, like we all do. I've spent like 4 hours this week on your guys' properties, right? With my
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, baseball and softball and soccer.
Soccer and
everything.
baseball, I've been spending a lot of time out there just this week, so brings a lot of value to the community, and I think it's certainly a community asset. So
Yep. So we're ready to invest some of the money back into, like we've tried to, last couple of years, we've done a lot of stuff to take care of stuff that we neglected on our internal stuff, and we're ready to start doing, besides we redid the parking lot already over there, but we're ready to do other things that are, the community is ready to start benefiting from us and our capital improvement projects.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not opposed to donating it. I do want some things built around it, so I would want to have some more conversation about that and kind of negotiate with you guys on what we all agree on. But I'm not opposed to the whole deal, but I would like to have some
Yeah, I think if the
things.
the wording is right and the contract's right, I'm not opposed to it. But like I say, I think it needs to be mutually beneficial to both of us. But I think it can be. I just think we got to get it right.
Cool.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Jake.
You don't need any questions for the next one, do you? Another rec thing.
So yeah, you want to jump into that?
We'll see. We'll see if we do when we get there. The next item on the agenda is another discussion item, a request from Spring Hill Recreation Commission to place art on city properties. And Mr. Spear, you have the floor. We might have more questions for you, Jake. I don't know until we get there.
And good evening, Mayor and Council. So yeah, while we're on the topic of the Rec Commission, the Rec Commission joined an organization called the Creative Communities Alliance back in 2021, and this is a group that allows artists to provide art and members of that alliance to basically lease that art for a period of time, usually about 2-year terms. Sometimes there's that gives you the opportunity to change out that artwork every 2 years. And there are also some opportunities, depending on the artist and the artwork, to purchase for the member, the alliance member, to purchase a piece of artwork at the end of that lease period as well. So the Rec Commission has since 2021 accepted 4 pieces of art that they've installed at 3 different locations. So those 3 locations are at the sports complex at the ball fields that we were just talking about. Also just outside of this building on the Madison Street side, as well as down on Main Street near downtown. So here on the left of the screen is the sculpture that's currently at the sports complex. There in the center is the artwork that's here at City Hall. And that's the second piece of artwork that's been there. The first one was there and then changed out through that program. And finally, on the right side is the one that's downtown at the corner of Hale and Main Street. So what the Rec Commission is asking now is they'd like to expand its participation with the Creative Communities Alliance and expand the placement of artwork throughout the community. What they are requesting right now are 2 additional locations, but because those locations are on city right of way and on city owned property, wanted to talk with you and get your thoughts about it, see if you had any questions. One of those locations is at 199th and Webster Street, somewhere generally in the vicinity of the current city entrance sign that's there. And the other location is at City Park, just kind of near the sidewalk and the entrance up to the playground, are the 2 locations that they've identified. The city's traffic safety committee has taken a look at these 2 locations. We looked at things like the visibility and sight triangles, making sure that the placement wasn't going to pose a problem or a safety concern for traffic. We're comfortable with the proposed locations. The other thing maybe to think about or talk about, these are the 2 locations being requested right now. The Rec Commission has talked about wanting to expand this program even more in the future and add additional locations. I think it would probably be a good idea for us to think about and start formulating a policy or a program for when entities want to place public art on city property. What's that process look like? When that artwork goes in, in the city, on city property, we take a certain level of ownership over it. And, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and what one person thinks is good and appropriate in a public space, someone else may not. So I think it's important for us to get a formal policy in place moving forward before this grows too much more, to really speak to and make sure that we're comfortable with this artwork that's going in these public spaces, and that it has the support and is in keeping with the character of the community.
Was the Parks Board involved in helping pick these locations, or were they involved at all, or was that strictly just the Rec Commission?
It was.
If not, I would love to have them involved in the future.
Yeah, so far it has been the Rec Commission. I will say, and the reason, just to let you know sort of how this came to be, the Rec Commission had several locations that they wanted to look at as possibilities. They were all in the city right of way, not in parks. Many of those locations, there were visibility issues and concerns. So when we scratched several off of the list in the right of way, and we were looking for other alternatives, City Park came up kind of at the 11th hour. But yes, I think input from the park board's a good idea.
Obviously, especially if it's going to be on a park area is
Sure.
kind of what I'm hinting at more.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with you on getting a policy in place for the same reasons, 100%. And then the other thing I was just gonna say, this is just a question on on the Alliance itself, like, do they do a call of action to artists, like local artists? So, I mean, I don't know much about this organization, that's why I'm asking. I was just kind of curious.
I'm not sure either.
Okay.
I don't know how wide
I
that
can-
network
I
is.
know a little bit about the program.
I can look it up or Google it.
Yeah, come up.
Yeah, if you want.
But
And I'm sorry, I
all
just,
good.
I think
No,
that's,
you're-
I think it's
Yeah.
something when it's art from a local artist,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're.
so it's a program that a lot of public entities are part of, where there's a draft of sorts, where you pay, I think it's $1,000 per year for a 2-year lease of the art. We've gotten local artists from here. It just kind of depends on the draft, how the draft goes. So because we usually go as a staff it happens in early February, where we pick together like 10 pieces of art, and then draft happens and we're the 10th pick. And by the time we get to our chance to pick, it's all like 6 of the ones that we want are gone. So we try and pick out local ones, or ones that other places have used locally, because other municipalities are a part of this program. So sometimes we communicate with them, like we have to move the art from like somewhere in Missouri to over here. It's happened before. And sometimes we order stuff, like if you notice there's a football player, that was supposed to be a baseball player at the baseball field. It's not a football player. And
that's kind
the baseball player got lost somewhere by the artist. So there are, like, not every person's local, but it's
Okay.
Midwest general, and it's a good way. The reason where the program exists essentially is because sometimes buying a piece of art, like the one out front, the artist I think listed it, like, I forget the exact, but it was over $10,000, which we paid $2,000 for it to be out there for 2 years, and people get to enjoy some art for 2 years. But yeah, we have been, I think, as you said, we've kind of been the people who picked the art.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, we probably could share more if we need to.
So you get to see them all before you?
Yeah, they give us a list of so all the artists basically who are in the program list the things that they're willing to be a part of the program. And so they give us a long list of 40, 50, 60 pieces of art. And then the draft happens, and some places only do 1 piece of art, some places do 2, some places do 5, and it just starts, draft starts getting smaller and smaller, and
Yeah.
whatever's left is left. Sometimes we don't have it, if we get to a point where like there's nothing we want, we wouldn't pay for art that
You
we
just wouldn't
don't
get
want.
anything, yeah. I would just say if we can fit it in to a parks meeting, like you were saying, to where they can say, hey, these are the ones we're gonna go after. Are you cool with
Yeah,
it?
because even if they pick out the 3 that they want, it's not a guarantee
Yeah.
with how this program works that we could get it. But
Yeah,
because the one that we got, he's talking about location, is we're trying to get a big art fixture to like be a drive into town and
Yeah,
be like, oh, look at that cool thing you drive.
that corner, 190 the Webster.
Yeah, and
That'd be awesome.
it was gone by the time, like, we were third in the draft and somebody took it right before us. We did get a couple of other pieces of art that we can, I don't know if he has what they look like, but I know there's one like a metal, like looks like a heart, so we know like Kansas City area is big on the heart stuff, so that would be one of them, and one of them's another wood structure because it got one of them that getting transferred here was in an accident and got destroyed, so we got another piece of art. So we could help. Like I said, it's not a like this is what we
Guaranteed.
want. Yeah.
So I want
If
to
we
know
wanted
who
to
picked
purchase
the
it, we could.
exclamation point.
Say that again.
I said I want to know who picked the exclamation point up front. Not really. I'm just kidding.
I won't say his name,
But he may serve, right?
but he may not be in this room. But
But yeah, like you was saying before, that some things are appropriate for some people, not for others. So it's good to have more eyes on it.
yep.
Because we've had plenty of things like that were like, I didn't think much of it, but this other person didn't like it at all. So
Yeah.
Just for me, the Parks Board in years past, some of the members that resigned a few years ago because they didn't have anything to do. So I'd love to get, if it's something that we can involve them in, that you guys don't mind involving them in, and if, especially if it's gonna be placed on a park area, it'd be awesome for them to be involved as well.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be I don't wanna speak for everybody in our organization, but I don't see that being a problem to make sure, cause we just wanna provide
yeah,
things for people to talk about in the town, so.
yeah.
Yeah, my two comments. First one is just one of the great things about living in Spring Hill, living in the greater metro areas, we have access to arts and culture that, quite frankly, most of Kansas doesn't have, right? I grew up in southeast Kansas and, we have our community theater, we have the high school art fair, that sort of thing. And living here in Kansas City, look, I take my daughter to off-Broadway shows, took my son to the Kauffman Center, we could go to the Arboretum, Overland Park Arboretum and see all the great art that's there. And yeah, for a guy who can't draw a stick figure, hum a tune, I appreciate these things,
Yep.
and be able to-
We notice this when we go through this like you start talking about like, oh, this can go here, go here. Then you go and drive around up north in Johnson County, and almost every corner, every other major intersection has a piece of art, and you're like, oh, didn't even notice that, but like, yeah, it would look weird if that space was just empty. So,
My other comment would be, and this probably doesn't apply to you, but at some point, I'd like to see something done at the 199th roundabout. Right? I'm talking about the, right there in front of the high school.
by the school,
So, I've said that before, and a couple comments I've got back, well, you're gonna create a hazard, people can't see through. Go drive in Kansas City, there's fountains, roundabouts, there's, just north of us here in Overland Park, they've got beautiful flowers and rock, that sort of thing, so I think those sort of things can be beautified, and I think that intersection, specifically that roundabout, could use some work, but that's probably out of your realm of.
yeah, but I know
You have an extra piece
when
of artwork,
we had our ideas of where we wanted before we presented to the city.
Sure.
We picked we're trying to pick places where that's why we're probably in the right of way for more of these ones, is because we want people to be able to see these pieces of art, because we've got a big exclamation point out here, but you'd have to drive by the Civic Center. So how many people in town even drive by it and realize that there's a piece of art right
My
there?
point exactly.
And our ballpark has the statues there, but you'd have to come play baseball or hang out at the park right there to
My point
know that
exactly.
they exist.
Again, not to just
Visibility is what we were shooting for this last time.
absolutely, and not to kick a dead horse, but it's a high visible area right there. I think.
I can say that was one of the areas that was discussed. It's being pushed off because of the reconstruction of 199th Street.
Okay.
So I think that'll be brought back up once that's completed, and it's probably a very viable location. We had the Traffic Safety Committee and the engineers discuss the exact issues that you were talking about, and I would anticipate that coming back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that one?
No, I think overall it's good. I like your recommendations to have a little bit of, some guardrails in place.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All right, thank you, Mr. Spear.
Get Mr. Peel.
Yep. Somebody wants to get, we're gonna have to say Mr. Peel now, because we're gonna have two Brians up here. We're not gonna be able to say, hey, can you get Brian?
Mr. Bryan.
BP and BK. Oh, no. What's the last name?
V.
BV.
Did you think we forgot you?
It was heated.
It was longer than I expected.
That ends the discussion items at this time. Next, we'll move on to announcements and reports. The only announcement I really have is had State of the City address this week. That was a really good turnout, and I think went really well. So I'm thankful to all of you that came out. If you didn't get to come out to it, I'm sure if it's not already, it'll be posted on YouTube. You can watch it. So yeah, it was a good time. Once again, thanks for everyone coming out. That's kind of my bigger event for the year, so I'm glad that it's done because I can breathe easy, and I always write my own speeches, so it's a little bit of work for me. So, but I enjoy it. So yeah. With that, Mr. Young,
No report.
Mr. Van Houten.
Yeah, so the question's been asked. I know we discussed this like in the last month and a half. We know Woodland Road is a problem. I asked Mr. Spear if he'd just make another announcement, just to give us a time frame and the specifics on Woodland and South Victory.
Victory.
North Victory.
North Victory.
Well, Victory north of 223rd.
Yeah.
And then the other comment I've spoke with Mr. Spear about as well. Some people at the Meadows subdivision, which is at 215th and 169, have been complaining about their trail is fairly dilapidated. The fence that separates 169 from their trail is essentially non-existent. And so to those people, we're working on that. That's a little more complicated. It's KDOT. It's not city right-of-way. I've been in discussion with 3 or 4 of those residents, but I just wanted to let people know we're
Is that the
working on
barbed wire fence?
the barbed wire fence. Yep, exactly. There's a barbed wire fence. Anyway, so I've talked to 3 or 4 different people. Mr. Spear's aware of it. He went out and checked it out. We're gonna have to work through some things there, but
Yeah, it gets a little bit more complicated when it's not
ours.
not city right away
It's
and not
not ours.
ours. When it's KDOT, that's a whole different ball game and a lot more complicated.
But we're still committed to trying to find an outcome
Yep.
for them because it does stink for them. They're walking their dogs and walking their kids. Kids are on a bike, and there's a barbed wire hanging there. So that's all I have.
Mr. Peel.
Daffodil Days, Saturday the 20th, kind of in conjunction with Arbor Day, big spring event for Spring Hill Rec, but also for the community. So lots of wide variety of activities, shop or crafty type little booths and shops and stuff like that, food. And Comcast is actually kicking in and doing a big thing too for some entertainment and different things. So come check it out. It'll be in the morning. I think we also have a fun run that morning, kind of an adventure style run, first time doing it. So should be, cross your fingers for good weather and hopefully it'll be a good event.
Awesome. Mrs. Feedback.
So Lane, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
But I'm going to.
just giving you a heads up right now.
As she gets ready to.
Do you, and I don't know, do you want to kind of give an update today of? No, okay. Okay,
I'll give a short update. I think.
well, and like I said, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I just know I've gotten 2 emails in reference to, and I just don't, I know there's, see what comes.
Yes, we've been proactively working with KDOT on the 169 highway on multiple intersections. Today, we had a very good conversation with KDOT. So we're hoping to have more information by probably within the next 2 weeks on that. So today was a good conversation. Other than that, it'll probably be a few weeks out before we know anything concrete on that. So, but we are continuing to work with KDOT, basically from 223rd Street North to 175th, trying to address those intersections.
Yeah, and as we all know, those intersections are a major problem, especially 191st Street, and then probably the next worst one's 183rd Street. So and then, like you say, from 223rd all the way north, each one of those intersections we know are our problem childs. So we are addressing those and are very well aware of them and have been for several years. So, but I feel like we're getting somewhere with KDOT finally.
If I can make a comment on that, I spoke with Representative Adam Thomas today about that, so they're working on it.
Okay, thank you again. I just wanted to make sure that people know that it's being addressed, that's
Yep.
all. And whenever
Yep.
there's a contact or something like that, I think it's important that people know about it.
Yep, absolutely. And it is a priority. It's definitely been a priority yeah. Mr. Massey,
No reports.
Mr. Lau,
No reports.
Mr. Burton.
My mic's, it never does like. So
Are you sure you just don't know how to turn it on?
Amy, that's what we have to have her here. You know that.
Amy got it to work both times.
I just wanted to speak a little bit on the fence out there. Just a couple things. We'd gone out several times and it is KDOT's fence and there's no wires broke loose or anything. It is on KDOT right away. The other thing that, and I'm not talking for Mr. Spear or anything, but our department looked at it. That trail out there is no man's. The city doesn't own it. And actually, I had a discussion with the empty corner lot is owned by a developer right now, and they're getting ready to tear out that portion.
Fence.
No,
Of the trail.
they can't touch the fence.
Of
It's
the trail?
KDOT's of the trail.
Pardon me, the trail.
So there could be some future calls on why it's removed and things like that, because they had some calls on it as well, and they feel it's a huge liability. What happened is that subdivision went broke, the Homes Association got dissolved, and the city mows it every year because it's a violation of our tall grass ordinance. And that's why they probably see city contractors out there. And then we bill the taxes, it gets rejected back to us and all that. So it's no man's land. When 10 years ago, we looked at going and trying to claim that ground and we would have to sue for it.
Well, say it just looked to me like a poorly placed trail, like it's right next to
Yeah.
the fence rather than putting it
Right.
over a little bit.
Exactly, but,
So-
so really our hands are tied pretty hard on it. And we'd love to do something. I mean, there's no doubt, so.
That trail, each piece of that trail is on each property owner's property. It's not-
No, that's not correct. No, it is, it's on an area that was, owned by a homes association. Star something another still claims ownership of it, but they're defunct. So,
Okay.
and like I said, the developer that owns the piece on the corner, it does go across his piece of property, and that will probably be removed this year. He's notified us, because I guess some people called them and said, why aren't you keeping your trail up? And he said, well, okay.
Let's take it out then.
Pat, can you go
Yes, ma'am.
into a little more detail just for the public about?
Sure.
Because, I'm learning a
No,
lot
I'd be
about
more than happy
stuff
to.
that I
So-
didn't know
so-
about about KDOT owning.
Right.
Explain that a little bit, because
Sure.
it's
So,
something I had to look
and
to.
I probably have I don't have my phone with me, but I have some pictures, but the trail was placed right to the inside of the KDOT right of way. KDOT, by statute, because Kansas used to be a cattle roaming, free roam, so they had to put up fences and all. And also to protect people from just running out on the highway. So they, at that time, over the years, put up barbed wire fences. One of the things that a lot of people have talked about is, well, barbed wire fences aren't allowed in the community, but that's KDOT right away. The state of Kansas owns the fence, the land, everything that's on. Unfortunately, the trail was put right next to the fence. So, the city really does not have any say at all about it.
Yeah, my biggest thing was
Now
I
what-
just wanted you to emphasize when you say KDOT right away and the KDOT owns it and
Yes,
stuff,
that's correct.
to really
Yes.
make sure
and-
people understand.
Yes,
what that
it is
means.
KDOT's,
Yeah.
100%. If they want to contact KDOT, that'd be great. But the other thing is, what we went out and looked at, and KDOT's been really good. We've had problems before where their barbed wire has broken loose, and we assumed that it was maybe flopping out there or something, but we walked all up and down it, and it's not pretty. but it is in good condition as far as barbed wire fences go. How about that? So I just wanted to let everybody know that, and that it's been looked at as hard as we can. Other than that, I really don't have anything else. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, Pat. Chief Henson.
No report, Pat took my time.
Mrs. Dunn.
I yield my time to Mr. Pat.
Madam Clerk.
I would just like to give thanks to Ashley Wood. She's the one who caught the item 8. I'd like to always give credit where credit is due. So thanks, Ashley, for having our back and paying attention.
Good job, Ashley. Mrs. Jones.
No report.
Mr. Spear.
So, just to Mr. Van Houden's points or questions on the road conditions, as was discussed, so that stretch of woodland between 207th and 215th, if you'll recall, last month, you all approved a contract for road maintenance and improvements for this upcoming summer, and that stretch of woodland was a part of that contract. So that's under contract to be repaired. Pretty similar process, and I would anticipate a similar end result to woodland from 199th to 191st that we did this past summer. So that process is coming within just a couple of months for woodland. Also on that contract, because the bids came in lower than the engineer's estimate, lower than we were expecting, we have some money left in the budget to expand the scope and do a little more repairs. The first road that we identified as a good candidate to add on to that work is Victory, north of 223rd to Webster. So that road, we've noticed the potholes in it. We've went out to try to patch those. There's nothing to patch.
So there's nothing really you can patch to.
No, that was a gravel road that has never had asphalt placed on it. It had about 2 layers of chip seal put over the gravel, and that's all that's there. So we've added that to this upcoming contract, and we'll put a 3-inch overlay of asphalt on it so that it will, be a little closer to current standards, and not only have a good ride quality when we're finished, but will hold up for several years, because what's there will continue to deteriorate in its current state.
And I just want to clarify also on Woodland between 207 and 215th, that will be an overlay. And there'll be base repairs underneath it. It will not be a patchwork quilt like it is now. So.
Correct.
All right. With that, if no one has anything else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Have a good night, everyone.